All right. Welcome everybody to the AFC Northcast. I'm Justin here, as always, with Chad and Joey. So,
Hey guys.
yep, we're here to give you the latest news, reviews, and previews about the hardest hitting division in the NFL. That's right, guys. That's right. So I'd like to invite everybody to watch us live and interact with us live on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So check us out. We're always going to be streaming live on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So come join the conversation, interact. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what you think. If not, always check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for us, AFC Northcast. You'll find us. So first order of business, Pigskin Pick'em is up and back. We're going to be doing that on Yahoo this year, not on ESPN. But Joey should be posting that link to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff to let you guys be able to join that. If you don't know what Pigskin Pick'em is, it's super simple. So all you do is you go through the 16 teams that are playing throughout a week. You literally just check a box to say who you think is going to win, and that's it. Whoever has the most correct picks wins. And we did it last year. It was a blast. And we actually ended up having Dylan on the show because he ended up winning. So, hey, if you win, maybe you can get on the show. Maybe you can talk with us, talk about your picks, have some fun with us. So that'll be good. And then as for that, this episode, we're just going to talk about news around the NFL. We're going to be talking about the preseason Week 2 games. We're probably finally going to have the Hollywood debate. Probably some fill in the blanks. And, we'll talk about the games that are coming up next week. So, Joey, what's going on, man? What's going on around the NFL?
Not a whole lot. We've got some continued Antonio Brown shenanigans going on. But before we talk about any of that today, some Baker Mayfield fun came out. It seems like everything that Baker's involved with this offseason has been fun. And this is just as dramatic as everything else. Baker did an interview with GQ. It's titled something along the lines of like the feeling dangerous thing, like a play on words.
Right.
And in it, GQ kind of sets him up to be a little bit controversial. They're talking about their dinner, and there's a steak in this fancy steakhouse named after Baker. And it says, near our booth, a Sports Center segment about the New York Giants catches Mayfield's eye. Quote, I cannot believe the Giants took Daniel Jones, unquote, Mayfield says about New York's much maligned draft day decision to spend the 6th pick on the quarterback from Duke, whose college record was a measly 17-19. Quote, blows my mind, unquote. Some people overthink it, Mayfield says. That's where people go wrong. They forget you've got to win. Now, Baker has already responded and said that GQ took it out of context. He was not disrespecting Daniel Jones. He was saying that the scouts don't really have an idea what they're looking for or what they want when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks. He was speaking more on
the behalf of Daniel Jones.
Kind of. Not on behalf of anybody. He was talking about how nobody really knows how to scout quarterbacks.
Right.
He was a controversial pick at number 1. Nobody thought that,
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Everybody's saying that Baker's trashing on Daniel Jones. And then Freddie Kitchens was asked about how people feel about Baker's comments, and Freddie Kitchens said, we don't care.
Yeah, right.
Which is great.
Right.
Attaboy.
I mean, that's a kind of a typical like no distractions coach type thing, but the way that he
it's the way he
worded it.
Yeah.
So that happened today.
Have you guys
your lightning rod quarterback?
Have you guys watched any of the Giants games so far in the preseason?
I've seen Daniel Jones highlights.
Right.
I know he's been impressive.
Yeah, I watched the
compared
first
to expectation.
I watched the first Giants preseason game, and I was actually pretty surprised too, to be honest with you, because like Eli was in, I think for a little bit, wasn't he? I don't know. I just remember Daniel Jones went in, and I was actually pretty impressed. But next week, we'll actually be able to see him play the Bengals?
Maybe the Browns. I don't know.
We'll get
they
to
play
it later.
somebody next week. They play somebody next week.
They play the Bengals.
Right. There you go. I was right. What can I say? I just have a pulse on everything.
Mr. Bengals over here.
Yeah, right. Well, it's the Browns. It's like the Brotherhood with the Browns, right? Whatever. All right, what else is going on?
It's like the bottom half of the AFC North Brotherhood.
Well, you're about to be welcomed into that.
Mr. Brown. So some more stuff has come out about his helmet business. Since we last spoke, the helmet that he sent, the one that was made within the last 10 years, that the NFL told him if he found one within 10 years, he could get it certified. So apparently there's a certification which is done by a separate entity than testing.
Mm-hmm.
So he was told his helmet could be certified if it was less than 10 years old. And his helmet was actually not on a banned list. So the model Shut Air Advantage helmet was not on a banned list, which makes his situation different from Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady because their helmets were.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew they would have to actually change what model helmet they have last year. Antonio Brown's was not on this list. He was just told that because of the 10-year window, he would have to update his helmet.
Mm-hmm.
He sent his helmet in to be certified, and the NFL sent it off to be tested and then put it on the banned list last week. So now we're 2 weeks from the season, and Antonio Brown has just been told that his helmet is not banned, not able to be certified. So that completed his last grievance with the NFL, and he now has a new grievance with the NFL asking for a year grace period to find a non-Shut Air Advantage helmet like Rodgers and Brady had last year, because until this past week, his helmet was not banned.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it was not on any list prohibiting wear. It was only the 10-year issue, which I think, not to be a total apologist, I think he's kind of got a case here. And it seems to me like the NFL is moving the target on him for the sake of being right rather than the sake of just trying to be fair.
So, what else is new?
Right, which is exactly what we saw with the Brady suspension, suspending him for not surrendering his cell phone because they couldn't actually prove anything with ball deflations and shit like that. Like, not to get into
right
old stuff.
Yeah, like
Thoughts?
So my thing that I
it's crazy.
I know,
right?
It's fucking insanity. So my thing with this is, I understand where you're coming from with the whole thing of like a year grace period, but to me it's like the same outrage of like when some asshole finds like a loophole in the rules and he's like, come on. But like everybody knows it's like, all right, dude, like just get a new fucking helmet, right? So I was going to ask you guys actually about this whole situation. Like, what do you think? Like, what would be your take? Would it be, man, like the balls on Antonio Brown to just be constantly just like hammering away that he wants this helmet. This is his helmet. This is like his decision and he's going to fucking hold out about it. Or is it the stupidity of Antonio Brown? Like, just buy a new fucking helmet, man.
Well, my take is that Hard Knocks is totally dropping the ball here. You've got a perfect storm of the NFL being arrogant and moving the target and doing all this stuff to portray what they want to portray. And they're doing it against a guy who has grown less and less stable in his ability to react to these situations over the course of the last year. And you've got an HBO television show that's supposed to be behind the scenes, and we're not getting shit.
Yeah.
We're not getting any quality entertainment out of this situation, so it's a total waste.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm somewhere in the middle. As far as Hard Knocks goes, like we've known for a while that it's a curated, controlled, you know, like it's the edgiest thing we get. It's the most inside that we get. But make no mistake, the teams and the league definitely control what goes on Hard Knocks. And I think that this is going to be like the pinnacle moment of us seeing this, because I don't think we're going to see very much, not nearly as much as we would expect or hope to see about all of this. I mean, they could take up the whole episode.
Right. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
I want to see like the episode with like Antonio Brown like sneaking some like shit helmet in or something like that with like spray painted silver on it or something like that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
that ridiculousness.
That would be great television. It would be the best moment in the history of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I don't know.
But as far as him being an asshole and a clown, like, yeah, he is. But I would say he was until this past week when the NFL showed their ass. Like, they told him something, whether it's a loophole or not, he tried to comply with what they told him. And now, like I said, they're moving the goalposts on it.
Right. So
I think now he's a little bit more vindicated than he was a week ago with this other grievance, when we thought from the information that we had that he's had the same amount of time as Aaron Rodgers and Brady, and he was just negligent or lazy or procrastinated, and now he's trying to scramble because he's this weird personality and unwilling to.
I guess my question is, with the way that the media goes, how long until this becomes like a war between like, well, why is Antonio Brown being treated differently than Tom Brady? Like, how long until you think that happens? Because I already see it happening.
It won't happen.
You don't think so?
No. It's a different situation now. So with all the new information, it's different.
Well, it's different in the sense that I think, like, I agree that, like, he found, I guess, like, we could call it, like, the loophole, right? So, like, yeah, okay, fine, give him the year, is, like, what I would say. But to the same extent, also, obviously, like, the logic in me is, like, just get a new fucking helmet, right?
I mean, is it the loophole or is it the rule that everyone's been abiding by? Like, everybody else found out the information he found out this week last year.
Yeah, but, like, it's not like they were pushing their helmets to the next year. Like, and that's just kind of what he's doing, is instead of, like, I mean, he's going to have to get a new helmet next year anyways. It's not like he's, like, saying, hey, guys, honestly, it's going to take me a year to find a new helmet, so just give me this year because I got this new shut helmet or whatever it is, and I'll find one at the end of next year. I just don't see that happening. I think that he's just going to try to find another way to push the bar, to push the bar, to push the bar.
Well, if this helmet had passed the test that he sent to the NFL, he would have actually been able to use it for 5 years, because I believe it was manufactured in 2014, which might be the rest of his career. So, you know, to you, it's a loophole. To him, it's a way to wear the helmet he wants for the rest of his career. He just wants to wear what he wants to wear.
Right.
They don't let these dudes wear stickers on their shoes. They don't let them wear the socks they want to wear. They're crazy. The NFL is bonkers about all of the uniform. So I bet to him, this isn't about safety. It's about control. Right. And it's one of the more sane reactions he's had to anything over the last year.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, where I stand on it is all of this is whatever it is, but just let him sign a waiver and play in whatever he wants to. Like, to an extent, I feel like this whole helmet thing is just a big charade by the NFL to try to look like they care or are doing the most they can about player safety.
Right.
But that we get into a real deep
rabbit
thing
hole
about player safety and veteran benefits and all that other shit. So
I think we can all agree that we want it on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I I kind of see your perspective, Chad, of maybe he's like trying to be like this champion for players, I guess, expression or something. Is that like maybe what you're trying to say with, will they make them, restrictions on their socks and restrictions on their shoes, and now they're trying to restrict their helmets, right?
Like a martyr.
Right. Like,
I don't think
I don't know. I don't see that. To me, it's just like, pick a new helmet, and if you're the greatness that you say and put your legacy to, like, put the paper to it, play in whatever helmet is, it doesn't matter. Everybody else had to change. So just do it, man. Like, rules are rules, man. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he probably will, because he's got $20 million on the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And apparently Mike Mayock's been getting hard line with him, too, as the most recent take, I guess. But we'll see how far that turns out.
You're either all the way in or you're all the way out.
No questions, right?
That was the quote.
Right. All right. Anything else going on, Joey?
I don't think so. Anybody else got anything that caught their eye this week?
I mean, Hard Knocks was hilarious.
Yeah.
Richie Incognito? Anybody?
Oh, yeah. It's so long ago now. I watched it like the day after we recorded.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we met Richie was abstaining from training camp fights and being the sensei on the team.
Wax on, wax off.
Let me tell you what I learned in counseling. Count to 10.
That sentence just speaks volumes about where that man's head is at.
Well, so of all the odd and weird things that Richie Incognito has done,
that
one
sentence
of the most
is just like such a breeze over all of this shit.
Involving his father's funeral.
Yes. What the fuck?
Like the mental place. This guy, when they need to study his brain,
right?
In
for sure.
20 years, when
yeah,
God willing, hopefully he lives longer than
right,
that. I don't
exactly.
wish that on anybody, but what a human.
Mm-hmm. If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Richie Incognito funeral and you'll get more details than you want. So,
yeah.
He wasn't the only one creating laughs, though. Jonathan Abrams, he came back for me a little bit. Rookie safety on the Raiders.
My man.
Very end of the episode, talking about Tom Brady. He's older than my daddy. He could have been my daddy. And the way he looked when he said he could have been my daddy was like he believed it for just a second. like
this realization.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
Fucked up, man.
Great stuff. Plus, you got the old Sean McVay footage.
Oh, love that guy.
Gruden used to call him.
What do you
Nothing? Nobody?
No, you cut out. What do you used to call him?
Oh, shit pot.
Shit
or
pot.
piss pot. Piss pot. Piss pot. That's what it was. What's the difference?
Yeah. What's the difference? An appearance in the playoffs and Super Bowl. That's the difference.
Well, it was great. It was just great footage of Gruden interacting with Sean McVay when he looked like he was like 12 years old.
Right.
Asking him if he loved football and then like staring into his eyes, like not believing him.
Yeah, but do you really love it? Like,
right. Yeah. That was like the transitional moment for Sean McVay, probably,
Oh, he was an intern. That was like his first.
Right.
He was on staff with Gruden, I think, in Tampa.
So does he get a Super Bowl ring
as an
then?
intern?
Does he get a Super Bowl ring then?
He might.
We should ask Sean McVay. We should give him a call. Next episode, we call Sean McVay and ask him if he has a Super Bowl ring. So
Gruden coached in Tampa. So the Tampa Super Bowl was Gruden's first year there.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a pretty good chance it was after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we'd have to track down whatever year it was, but whatever. Otherwise, we could call him Super Bowl champion Sean McVay. We could introduce him with his
my
proper
other
title.
Not so guilty pleasure about Hard Knocks this year is just watching John Gruden abuse Nathan Peterman and Mike Glennon.
Yeah.
It's the best. Those dudes suck so hard, and he just gets so mad about it, so indignant.
Right, but I thought he was like all up about Nathan Peterman, though, wasn't he?
Until we make a dumb play in a game,
right.
And then he's rat cussing him, and
I mean, he picked him number 1 overall in the top 100, right?
there's a whole tunnel that you can go down on YouTube of like
John Gruden,
the like
Nathan Peterman.
the deep fake like NFL 100 videos of like shitty players on the countdown, and it's pretty good.
There was one with Manziel, actually, even. That one was good.
I'm sure.
Ugh.
I would also say, in the not quite as funny, but still pretty funny, the opening sequence of this episode of Hard Knocks was great too, because you had John Gruden getting that red face when he yelled that you have to be better this week. And I was like, dude, I forgot that he's a legitimately scary man. He's
the Chucky stuff.
Yeah, in like that psychopath sort of way. Yeah. I was like a little afraid of him, and I was the whole internet away.
He's been this cuddly teddy bear on television for so long.
QB camp.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm a fan of Hardline, but I think that younger generations don't respond to it as well. So we'll see what happens with the Raiders this year. I don't know. I
think it's responded to well inside of a locker room when it's genuine.
Right. Well,
and I think Gruden, fair or not, during his time in the broadcast booth, showed enough of like his other side and like the fun side and like the rock and roll loving side, that he may have kind of lost the credibility for some of that.
Maybe. I guess we'll have to phone the locker room in. Next week, we call the Raiders locker room to figure out if they believe John Gruden.
It could be good. I'm just either way though. This is a good season, and if they can bring some legit Antonio Brown antics into this, we're talking about the best season yet. Right. And they had the Browns last year, and that was good stuff.
Hey, well they showed Antonio Brown's feet though, didn't they? Right?
That was pretty good.
That was on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know. They showed him in the episode too, I think.
Yeah, they showed him.
He actually referred to the removing the dead skin on his feet as his feet getting circumcised.
Yeah.
Classy.
I mean, very quotable episode.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, if there's pretty much it for NFL news, let's move on to the games. Let's talk about some preseason football, which I know everyone's just dying to hear about preseason football, right? But let's get kicking. Let's talk about...
Let's mix it up. Let's mix up the order a little bit.
All right. Who do you want to start with?
Let's start with your Cleveland Browns.
Okay. Well, since y'all had just so much to say about my Cleveland Browns.
If it's all the same to you.
It's not the same. I saved the best for first, which is why I tricked you into thinking.
Which is why we talk about the Ravens last all the time, because we saved the best.
I just said the best for... Never mind. Anyways. All right, so let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. So Cleveland Browns played the Indianapolis Colts. First off, if you haven't been watching Building the Browns, you really should be. It's a pretty good miniseries. This week, they just kind of talked over what happened in their, I guess, scrimmages, right, against the Colts. So the Browns traveled to Indianapolis, and they had their practice with the Colts, and then they played them in the preseason this week. So you got like an inside scoop of that with Building the Browns. So as for the game itself, they didn't really have a whole lot of starters on offense, to be honest with you, other than, I guess, some offensive linemen, because those guys are sparse to begin with, and Rashard Higgins, who is the starting number 3 receiver. They played a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, which was interesting, because last week when Chad was talking about, like, well, who's going to be your 4th guy and your number 4, like, the first thing that came to mind was, like, the Browns don't do 4 wide receiver sets. Like, what are you talking about? But they actually did a bunch of it this week, so I'm glad I didn't say that out loud last week. So all in all, Garrett Gilbert ended up starting, the AAF champion, the AAF superstar, Garrett Gilbert. And he looked pretty good, to be honest, if you ask me. I know it's a preseason game and it's tough to say, but he looks pretty good. Much better than Drew Stanton did last week, let's just put it that way. I think at this point, if Drew Stanton makes the roster, it's because he's a veteran with a veteran presence, and they want to preserve the veteran presence in the quarterback room. I mean, like, honestly, at this point, Garrett Gilbert looked pretty good. David Blow, honestly, I thought he looked really good too. Again, both better than Drew Stanton, so we'll see what happens. Who's going to play that backup? Offensive line didn't really look that bad. Nothing crazy, nothing fantastic either, though. So I'm not really sure. I think I'm trying to stay optimistic about the offensive line because I know they've made a lot of retooling to it since last season. And last season, I thought they looked really good. So we'll keep a better eye out on the offensive line. But I think Baker will look better behind them than David Blough and, Garrett Gilbert. Zettel had a fucking awesome play. I don't know if you guys saw that, but against Marlon Mack, the running back for the Colts, he fucking took Marlon Mack's head off. So Anthony Zettel, I talked about him back when we did our Browns preview for the preseason. He's supposed to be like the sub for Myles Garrett, and he had a couple pretty good plays, but one particular where he took the head off of Marlon Mack. So kudos to that dude. And Rashard Higgins, another guy that I talked about earlier in the preview for the Browns, fucking just balled out this game. I mean, it didn't matter who was throwing to him. He was catching balls and making plays. So I'm fucking loving Higgins. I'm excited about it. Kareem Hunt got a couple bit of play, a couple plays. He still looked really physical, man. Like, even if for being a preseason game, man, guys were like holding on to him, and he was pushing. And that's what I like. That's what I like to see, that physical kind of running back, even though Kareem Hunt's supposed to kind of be catching some, screens and some things in the backfield a little bit. So I'm excited about Kareem Hunt once he eventually does end up showing up for the Browns. Whew, man, I got a lot to talk about. I'll try to condense this.
Let me ask you a question about the receivers, because you just talked about them a little bit. So I had asked you about the fourth wide receiver, and you had a great opportunity to look at the backups this week because you had no Jarvis Landry and you had no Odell Beckham Jr. So obviously Higgins looks great.
Right.
He's the clear-cut number 3, and he looks like he's going to be a good one.
Actually,
you like Jalen Strong. You like the Willies guy. Who do you like? Who do you want to be there in those 4 wide receiver sets after watching this second game?
It's tough to say. So Jalen Strong caught like a touchdown pass, but other than that, like, I don't know. It's kind of tough to say with him. He's a veteran. He's kind of shown us what he has for as far as the NFL goes. So maybe he could be there as a veteran presence or something. I really couldn't say. Derek Willies, so he kind of started to show a little bit last year. I don't really know, though. I remember in the first game that he had in the preseason, Derek Willies tried to, I think it was like the first play even. He tried to do this like one-handed catch off to the side that was like a clearly catchable ball, but like I think he was playing too much with Odell and Jarvis or something, and he dropped it, and that really turned me off to Derek Willies. Even though he's looked fine for the most part, so I still don't have a good answer for you, but that's something that I'll definitely keep an eye out for as the season kind of comes together. But I think that those two are obviously the contenders at this point. Nobody else really kind of blew up to me, to be honest with you.
I'd like to...
Go ahead.
I'd like to offer up a dark horse wide receiver. Just based off of this game, DJ Montgomery.
Yeah. So DJ Montgomery...
He killed it to me. I feel like... So last week, the big buzz guy was Sheehy Giuseppe.
Yeah.
I really feel like DJ Montgomery and Giuseppe's kind of meh punt returns. He had like a couple yards, nothing special.
Right.
I think that really dealt a fatality to like the fairy tale Sheehy Giuseppe thing. I think I'll say that he really separated himself, and I think just as far as like a GM mindset over like a guy like Jalen Strong, who's been around a little bit and you kind of know that where his developmental ceiling is, like DJ Montgomery probably on a cheaper contract.
Yeah, more so than Jalen Strong. Yeah. So Sheehy Giuseppe, I'll say that the returns that he had, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. He just really didn't have a whole lot of room. Like, the guys were already there, and honestly, he should have called fair catch a couple times, but you can tell that he's desperate to show that what he wants to do and what he wants to be able to include and present to the team. So he ran it when he probably just should have called a fair catch, and he actually hurt his ribs. So he came out of the game from a rib injury, but he actually came back in the game, I guess, like officially, but I didn't really see him on any plays after that, so we'll see what happens with Sheehy Giuseppe. Like I said last time, Alonzo Highsmith himself said, like, his path to the NFL is pretty unlikely, and his path to a roster spot is even more unlikely. So we'll see what happens with him. So yeah, DJ Montgomery, he dropped like a big pass in the early part of the game, and that like automatically kind of gave me this like sour taste in my mouth that was just like, bro, like what the fuck. But then after that, he did catch a couple good passes. So yeah, we'll see if anything more develops out of him in Game 3 and Game 4 for sure. So that's someone to keep an eye on. D'Ernest Johnson, though, that's somebody that I actually kind of liked. So he's a running back that they just signed. His runs were electric, man. I really liked what he had to offer as far as those. He was catching balls. He was running them up the center. They played him for pretty much the entire game, and I was pretty impressed with what he's got. So between him and Hilliard, it's going to be tough to say who's going to be the backup to Chubb for the first 8 games, and if they, what happens after that if they keep him on as a number 3. But I'd keep an eye out on D'Ernest Johnson for sure. He's going to be the new Johnson, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Tight end group, fart noises. That's exactly what I wrote down. They just kept talking the entire time about like, oh, they're so big and so physical, but like they dropped like every fucking pass to them. So I'm just tired of it. So fart noises at the tight end group. My only thing I can think of is that like maybe they got so many good wide receivers that the tight ends they got to bolster the offensive line and are more blocking guys. And since it's the preseason, they're like, well, let's see if they can catch a little bit. But those guys couldn't fucking catch for shit this game. So. Like I said, fart noises. And then the last bit on, well, not really offense, I guess special teams, is Gillian. So overall, probably kind of an average game, I guess. Jamie Gillian, the punter, the Scottish Hammer, if you haven't heard of him, the guy that was breaking, like literally exploding footballs during his tryouts. So I wrote down a quote, the exact quote from the announcers, because they were at like the, I don't know, let's say 15-yard line or 14 or something, and there was a holding, so they got backed up to like the 4-yard line or something crazy like that. And the announcer's exact quote was, Colts should be in good position, and then Gillian punts, and it lands within the 10-yard line at like the 8-yard line, and that motherfucker just blew it just right into where it needed to be. It stopped exactly where it needed to be. So he probably needs to work on being more consistent because his other 2 punts weren't that great, but the Scottish Hammer, we'll see what happens with him. I am skeptical because of Colquitt and how good he is, but again, I had my tinfoil hat theory that I put out the last time about maybe Colquitt trying to retire, but we'll see. As far as defense, what's up? Go ahead.
I think you gotta hope to stash that guy.
Yeah.
Britton Colquitt is like
it's hard.
a really, really good pro punter.
Exactly.
So I think Cleveland likes him. I think even you've mentioned before, you feel like he's probably disrespected a little bit, like on a national level. But I think in Cleveland they appreciate him. So unless the Scottish Hammer can really separate himself, I think that it's probably Colquitt's job, and they'll hope to stash him on practice squad or something like that. I mean, Look at the Ravens last year had Vedvik in camp, and he was doing the same stuff that he did preseason this year that got him traded. So I think you can probably be able to hide him away.
Yeah, if it's not like a practice squad type position, like maybe they just pick the best 3 between Colquitt, Gillian, Seibert, I don't know how you say it, and Joseph, and because they picked up a kicker and a punter in this offseason, so which is an interesting position. So
Seibert's not going anywhere except for home.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get through everything, but it looks like Seibert has had a rocky camp. That being said, Greg Joseph did miss a field goal. It was from like the 55-yard line, but his other extra points were fucking like just perfectly straight down the middle. I mean, like they were just picture perfect down the middle, whereas Seibert's, even from his extra point, was just like it curved really hard and then kind of made its way in. So it's gonna be tough for Seibert. That's all I gotta say. Even though obviously,
yeah, I don't think you gotta worry about stashing him.
Yeah, what it's looking like with Greg Joseph is that, if they got that 55 yards, like where the Ravens would be like, fuck it, just go for a field goal. The Browns would be like, well, let's try to see if we can convert on 4th.
It's decision time.
Exactly. So, but Joseph looked good indoors is basically what I put down. All right, defense. I want to get over this real quick. look, man, a lot of blown coverages, but it looked like there was a lot of zone that they were trying to play, and just either someone didn't have their zone or, Brissett was just taking advantage of what zones were basically available and open. That being said, Mac Wilson, you're on my fucking shit list. All right, as good as you played the first preseason game is just about as bad as he played the second preseason game. Tons of missed tackles, tons of sacks that he should have had, but he completely either tripped over his own feet or missed somebody. So Mac Wilson, you're on my shit list this week. There was one tackle that I wrote down specifically because I was in such like a sour mood from him, is that he was like celebrating when he didn't even fucking doing anything. Like two other dudes, it was like Olivier Vernon and someone else, one of the linebackers, like completely wrapped up and took someone down, and then Mac Wilson came around and like put his arm around him as the whistle was being blown, and he was just like, yeah! And it's just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. So fucking,
I have to hand it to you. I really appreciate your honesty because I didn't have a lot of notes game. A lot of the players I wanted to watch didn't play. And one thing I did note was that on the 2 consecutive plays, Mac Wilson showed his potential and he showed where he's at. And on the first play, he pancaked, I believe, the left guard. I mean, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was really great. And he made a stop on a run for like a -1 yard rush. And it was really, really nice play. And on the next play, he had a free run at the quarterback and he just missed. Right. He just like totally missed. Free run. You're not going to get a better chance than that. And I was just like, man, you're not trading Kirksey yet.
Yeah, not quite yet. Even though Kirksey did blow a tackle in the second half, I want to say. Or I'm sorry, second quarter. So yeah, there was some blown coverages. What I honestly think is because Brissett is known to be like this running mobile kind of guy, they expected a lot of runs because the run defense by the Browns was really, really good in this game, particularly. But they got chopped up. Particularly, I saw either straight in the middle or on the left-hand side, like in that short to 10 or 15 yards on the middle and left-hand side. They got chopped up a lot. So again, I think that they were expecting some runs, and the coverages were blown in that type of a case, and that's what happened. So linebackers, we've known that as Browns fans, the linebackers can be a liability, the outside linebackers particularly. So safeties are going to have to pick up, or the linebackers are going to have to get better, one or the other. So,
do you know anything about Taki? Because I didn't hear what the deal was, but I didn't see him in the game.
I was just about to say that. I actually couldn't, I was curious myself as to why Taki didn't play. I didn't hear anything about injuries, so I don't really know. Maybe he's kind of cemented himself. I really don't know. So, but I guess that's something that I'll take to myself to try to figure out, see if I can dig something up.
I'll be looking to see him next week.
Yeah, for sure. As next week being game 3, right? The big game and everything.
Dress rehearsal.
So we'll see if he actually comes out on the field. I'm confident, obviously, like Joey said last week, you're not going to replace Schobert just quite yet. So, but we'll see if Taki gets a lot of action last week. And the last thing that I have written down here is that there were Steelers fans in the audience. Not sure if they're trying, they showed it on camera. Maybe he, was thinking about converting or something, or maybe he's just sniping for the team. I don't know. But we saw Steelers fans in the audience watching the game in the stands. So what can I say?
There's a lot of us. You can't just put us in one stadium.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, and that's what I got for the Browns. You guys got anything else?
No, that game was boring.
Yeah.
They didn't play any of the players we wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. The only other note that I had is Garrett Gilbert the second best quarterback the Browns have had since they've come back to Cleveland?
The second best?
I mean, Baker's the best that they've had.
Mm-hmm.
Is Garrett Gilbert the second best?
I don't know, man. Brian Hoyer was pretty good.
AAF star?
Yeah. No, but...
self-proclaimed
13 for 9.
Right.
What's that?
I said self-proclaimed champion. You said champion.
No,
they didn't finish.
He was. Look, come on. Let's see. Every other team was just embarrassing. I don't know about you guys, but I watched the AAF a bunch, and the Apollos were it was a clear cut difference between the Apollos and the other teams.
Also, I think that was on Steve Spurrier. He's the one that was the catalyst for declaring himself a champion.
Oh, was it?
I think the phrase you're looking for is that's why they play the game. So you're not a champion until you win a championship, okay?
Well, I guess he'll just
Take
have to
notes, Justin.
prove his championship this year. So it is what it is. By the way, interesting stat. Did you know that the Browns are the 4th most bet on team in Vegas right now to win the Super Bowl?
I saw second.
Second. So I heard when I was driving home, I heard on, I think it was Monday. Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. So it must have been yesterday that I heard that it was like number 4 was the Browns and number 5 was the Bears. But 1, 2, and 3 was like, I don't remember the order, but it was Saints, Chiefs, and Patriots. But as far as most bet on. So
the article I saw just was from the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook, so it was only kind of one collection. So perhaps you saw like the grand total or
Maybe.
another bookie or whatever. But it said that Mayfield is the number 1 bet for MVP, and the Browns are the number 2 for the Super Bowl. So that hype wagon is running fast. You better hop on before it gets away from you.
Look, all I'm saying is if there's anything we've learned, it's that the majority is almost always right. So, clearly. All right. That's my piece. Who's next?
All right. Joey, so you're going to do 2 in a row then, huh? You're going to just get into a rhythm and run with it? I like it. We'll talk about the Steelers.
I'll do it. Yeah, sure.
No, I'll talk about the Steelers. I don't know. I guess to the outside eye, this game was probably pretty slow, like the Browns too. It took both teams. The Steelers played the Chiefs this week, a little while to get going. The Chiefs didn't score early. The Steelers didn't score early. So obviously, Steelers Nation and I are very excited that Patrick Mahomes was shut down. Steelers defense is back. The Iron Curtain. Steel curtain, whatever.
Yeah. Take your time there, Churchill.
The Iron... We can get into cyber warfare in Russia later, but the Iron Curtain, we got to talk about that too. No, it's pretty good. I mean, Mason Rudolph, I thought looked good. He's, trying to win that number 2 quarterback job, which means, he's got to win a game or 2 for the Steelers this year. Roethlisberger's going to get hurt for a game or 2. That happens almost every year. So we need a backup that can not drop the ball totally. I thought he looked pretty good. Again, I said last week that I like a backup quarterback that's willing to push the ball down the field, especially in the preseason, take some chances, see what you can get away with. And he did that. And it wasn't even always completions I liked. He had a nice 2nd and 1 in the red zone where he kind of threw into the end zone with 2 corners coming, kind of triangulating in on the pass, and it ended up incomplete. Couldn't quite squeeze it in, but he trusted his arm and he didn't just check it down. And that's what I want. I want my backup to believe that he's a starting quarterback and he needs to be able to make those types of throws.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't really have any notes about the other 2 quarterbacks. Who cares? Josh Dobbs still technically competing for the job, and Devlin Hodges is like the best 4th string quarterback ever, but he's a 4th string quarterback. I'm going to open the floor up to you guys because I just can't wait to hear some James Washington praise right now. Give me some James Washington praise. How good's this guy?
So I don't have anything on that. My big takeaway from the game was the defense, particularly. I was actually kind of...
We're not talking about the defense yet.
Okay, fine. Well,
talk about James Washington.
Nah, I get it.
He's tiptoeing the sidelines. He's jumping like 12 feet in the air. You couldn't have missed it.
It's the second week in a row that he seems to have taken the step that you're hoping he would take from last year to be a true number 2 receiver. We'll use caution again because of last preseason and how good he looked last year. But yeah, James Washington looks as good as you could hope for him to look, I think.
Yeah, and you know what his competition did? You know what his competition for that starting spot did? Dante Moncrief
fumbled.
One.
I was just about to
fumble.
say, yeah, fumble city.
I mean, he's had a dislocated finger, but you got to at this point you got to play. So I'm going to be very interested to see who gets those first team reps next week. I think that James Washington is pushing Dante.
I would agree. The only other offensive notes that I have had to do with Dobbs and Rudolph. I don't know. It might just be like a style contrast. I still like Dobbs more. I think as far as chance taking, probably a little too much chance taking. He is willing to air it out. I don't know. Mason Rudolph, it just looked like he was staring guys down a little bit, especially in the beginning when both offenses were like really sloppy and not doing much. I think he had 2 targets to Juju and no completions, and they were both like Juju was full ass covered, and he tried to force the ball in, but it almost early in the game it almost looked like he wasn't like slinging it, like giving it 100. I don't know. He had a pass over the middle that he kind of floated, and it seemed like he floated it for no reason. It didn't look like he was super comfortable. So I still like Josh Dobbs. I know that, I mean, it's kind of the same thing as what we were talking about with DJ Montgomery and Jalen Strong. It's like we kind of know at this point what Josh Dobbs is as a finished product, I think. I don't think he's going to do too much more developing, whereas you're still exploring what Mason Rudolph can become.
Yeah.
So that probably ends up giving him the leg up in the long term, but I still want to see more from Mason Rudolph. I wasn't particularly impressed.
That's fair. I'm going to explain to you why Mason Rudolph's better, but I think it's fair to not be super impressed with him. Like I said, he needs to be able to win 2 games. I am not here telling you I'm a believer in that yet.
Yeah.
But he did a couple things that I thought were really impressive. He is a highly immobile quarterback, and he really moved in the pocket well. The best I've ever seen him move in this game. He didn't look great against the ones in Kansas City. That was a good test. He played, at least a portion of their starting defense and did not have success. But Dobbs didn't play any starters, and he came in at the end of the first half in the 2-minute drill, and he got him down the field. But if you were watching closely, he wasn't accurate with his throws. Like, the results were better than what his actual play was. He was throwing behind receivers and getting away with it, and it caught up to him, and he threw an interception. He's super, super elusive, but he's not accurate. And the one thing that I think I'm starting to believe, because I've heard it so often, is that you really just can't teach accuracy. Like, you're either accurate when you throw the ball or you're not. And I'm starting to think that he's in the latter. So I think that even though he might be like a hair better than Mason right this second, I don't think that he's going to be, maybe even for another week. I don't know. We'll see. So agree to disagree. I think you just like Dobbs because you think you're going to get to play the Steelers when he starts and you're going to win.
The Ravens tend to do that. They tend to get Charlie Batch, Mike Vick, Landry Jones, all those fellas.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't need to talk too much more about the offense. We did see James Conner.
I was about to say, James Conner, let's put it this way, overwhelmingly unimpressed. How about that? Is the way.
Underwhelmed?
Yeah. No, I wanted to try to see if I could Stephen A. Smith it. But, I got nothing, man. Like, I saw James Conner, and from what I saw, what did he have? Like 2 positive plays? I mean, come on, man. Like it was really nothing that exciting to me. So
he broke tackles on both of his runs. He gained yardage and he didn't get hurt. Like, that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, gained like what, 1.5 yards?
He looked strong.
So
James Conner had 6 carries for 28 yards for a 4.7 yard average.
Yeah, that's pretty bummer.
I don't know, man.
It's awesome. Breaking tackles and being great. Pick him up on your fantasy team.
I don't know. From what I saw from James Conner, I was personally unimpressed. So, especially with such a robust offensive line, I don't know. On a preseason
he was playing
game
with 60% of that offensive line. Okay,
so
60%.
I don't know.
3 of the 5 starters, which is why he was breaking tackles so often.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool. You can underestimate him.
I did.
I dig it.
In fact, I did not underestimate him. I properly estimated him.
Well, you must really not like Benny Snell then. Because he he is still looking well behind Jalen Samuels, and I mean he's still doing okay in pass protection, but I think it's a two pony show here. Once we get to the regular season, I wouldn't expect to see him much. I usually only watch the offensive line closely if I get to see the game twice. All I'll say is that I watched, they weren't terrible. Some of the kind of backup guys that are going to make the team looked acceptable, and they seemed to move around. Last week, Zach Banner and Fred Johnson played most of the game on the right side of the line. This week, they played on the left side. So position versatility is going to be important for the backups. So it was nice to see him get some reps game-wise that way and not get anyone hurt by screwing up super badly. How about the defense? We had a couple starters that you had to be impressed by. Justin, you wanted to jump in on the defense earlier. What did you have to say about the Steelers' defense? It must have been about how T.J. Watt is a chaotic force of destruction.
No, overall, I was impressed by T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree specifically. They kind of stood out to me. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, what is it? The Iron Curtain? Is that what you called it earlier?
Could be.
Right. No, but especially against an offense like the Chiefs, the fact that they kind of held Patrick Mahomes to basically nothing was pretty impressive to me. So I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know who looks pretty good guarding Tyreek Hill? Artie Mother Truckin' Burns. Dude, he is going to play in the regular season, and my heart is going to stop every time I see him on the freaking field. Oh, my God. He refuses to play bad in the preseason. He just won't do it. It's killing me. He had a blitz where he deflected a pass, too. He's, like, everywhere. God, it's killing me.
He had a forced fumble?
No, it wasn't him.
No?
He was the first one in there, but Terrell Edmonds
Oh.
punched it from behind there, which is good. You know, I'll take it from anybody, but yeah, starting strong safety, that was about his only noticeable play, but arrow's still pointing up. We're liking what Terrell Edmonds is doing too. Don't freak out. Devin Bush didn't play, but it was precautionary. So he's going to be in there messing up all your lives when it matters, I promise. And that's mostly the young guys that I didn't watch much in the first game that everybody was excited about. I tried to watch them more closely, and I wasn't that impressed. Isaiah Buggs was a late-round draft pick on the defensive line that they think might make the team, and he was not really doing a lot. And Ulysses Gilbert III, who might have an in to more playing time now that we have an injured Ola Adeniyi, who is officially on my shit list because you're not allowed to get hurt when you're my number one height. Come on. Jeez, killing me. It seems like it's not going to be too big a deal, but he might be out for part of the regular season. Ulysses Gilbert III was taking his reps on special teams and defense, so I was not blown away by him, but we'll look to see how he plays next week. That's mostly what from.
Yeah, some other defense notes I had. So almost as equally important for stopping the Chiefs as Tyreek Hill is stopping Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Barron was very involved in coming down and covering guys, and I thought he did a plus job of doing that. It was really it was really encouraging from a Steelers standpoint to see how they've done so far the first 2 weeks of the preseason in what was their Achilles heel, in my opinion, last year. One of the Achilles heels on not a great defense as far as pass coverage goes was the linebackers. And then speaking of the linebackers, I wrote that Matakevich was being tested. And I thought that he was doing well. And then, like, as soon as I wrote it, he gave up, like, a huge completion down the sideline. But I still think, one big play can be an aberration. I still think that he did better than I expected him to be. Like you said, Devin Bush was not out there. So he got tons of playing time out there. And
Matakevich,
I was impressed.
He's known as Dirty Red. He was like their 7th round draft pick 4 or 5 years ago. He won the whatever name you never remember linebacker in college. He had, I think, like 900 tackles in 11 games. And he's their special teams ace. The day he misses a tackle is the day he retires and commits harikari and shame. He just doesn't miss tackles. But he also is not great at coverage. He's not very fast. He just doesn't have the NFL athletes kind of level, but he makes up for it with work, and that's why he's a great special teams player. So in the preseason, he's a snap eater. He's just in there to get, take reps basically because they don't have anybody else. If he's on the field on defense during the regular season, it's a big deal in a problem sort of way. But yeah, he's a great tackler, and you want to keep him out of coverage for sure.
And I have a cross-team shit list addition.
Come on, man.
What is this?
My favorite Steeler, Vance McDonald, had the douchiest fumble ever trying to truck a guy in the preseason.
Right.
And looked like an asshole.
Yeah, man. Like the first 5 minutes of the game was like the fucking fumbles, man. Like not only did the Steelers fumble twice, but then the Chiefs also fumbled, I think twice or something, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fumbling, and I hate to open the foreshadowing up here, but Joey, it's a pretty bold move in your shoes to be talking about a tight end looking douchey, and now I'm going to make sure to talk about it once we get to the Ravens game.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Which you're welcome to start at right now.
Yeah, go for it, man. What's up with the Ravens?
All right. Let's talk about the defending AFC North champion Baltimore Ravens. So, we will start on offense again. I think the quarterback is a natural place to start. Lamar looked sufficient again. Nothing, no big minuses. He had the electric run that got called back, which is just, it set Twitter on fire like that, right. Which is what Lamar Jackson brings. Mm-hmm. Anytime that he's on the field, he's probably the most electric player out there. But I thought he was okay. He's 10 for 16 in the preseason so far, which is fine. Yeah. He was all right. He was limited in running, other than the run that the little scamper that he had for a touchdown that got called back, and there he took some criticism with because people online wanted to say but look at the receivers that were open on this play. It's okay, he didn't take any hits and he scored a fucking touchdown.
Yeah. If
it wasn't for a bullshit blindside block call. That's the second time in 2 weeks the Ravens have been hit by a blindside block call, which I'll get into in a little bit because there was one in our other division game also. So I'll wait to talk about that. But I'm letting the Lamar hype build for me, because he doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes for the Ravens to be successful. He has to be careful. He has to not rely on his legs when he doesn't need to. And I think that he has developed as a passer enough this year to accomplish what the Ravens want him to accomplish.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was overall actually impressed with Lamar Jackson, to be honest with you. He threw and completed some decent passes that I did not expect him to throw and complete. There were some times he was hanging out in the back, in the pocket or whatever it was, and I was like, this motherfucker's going to take off. But he only actually took off for I want to say 2 or 3 times for the entire time that he was in. It looked like they were trying to keep him back to see if he could throw. Not in the same sense with Deshaun Watson, where they did that during the regular season, right? This is the preseason. This is the time to try to see if you can hold him back and see what you can do. And it didn't look awful. That's I guess that's as positive as I could make it. And at least 2 of his incomplete passes were at the fault of Hayden Hurst, for sure. In my opinion, they were at the fault of Hayden Hurst. So you can automatically take 2 of those incomplete passes right off the board. So, which we'll get to Hayden Hurst maybe later. But yeah, overall, I mean, like with their ability to run the ball, his ability to do the read option and hand the ball off, or that, like, you said, electric run up the right side, it made me kind of sit back and think, like, fuck, man. This is going to be again this year that every game I'm just going to be like, they're not going to be able to run it over and over again, and they're going to run it over and over again and still, put up points. But except this time, it seemed like he had the ability to throw a couple of decent passes.
I disagree.
Oh, all right.
And I'm not going to say that he was bad because he did all the stuff he was supposed to do. So it could work out, as Joey said. But I'm not giving him a grade as a quarterback in this game because I didn't see him even try to make any like NFL throws.
Yeah, they were safe.
It was all short, intermediate stuff to guys that basically were college open.
Chop him up with the short yards.
Which is fine. That's fine. I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback because of it. I'm just giving him an incomplete. Joey has acknowledged that he needs to throw better, and I didn't see him attempt a throw that we could even look at and judge in this game. It was too easy. So I want to see him next week. I want to see him attempt a couple of those throws. But Joey, I just kind of want to ask you in a different way. After the game, it was noted Aaron Rodgers and Lamar, they had a little conversation. Lamar, he told him his play was pretty spectacular, obviously referencing the run, and he gave him a little advice. And he said, you should slide a little
more.
And I'm just wondering for you, do you wish Aaron Rodgers gave him some advice on throwing, maybe?
I wish he would have been like, hey, Aaron, I think I got this running thing down, bro. I don't need your advice.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about throwing to the back shoulder?
Yeah.
Or the right receiver?
Like,
or to a wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of tight end play. Yeah, for sure.
So I think part of his not making what you would call NFL throws is a bit of the Ravens playing close to the vest. But I think more than not, this is what their offense is going to be. I don't expect to see Lamar on a record-setting rushing pace like last year. I think the Ravens as a team offense are going to rush the ball an insane amount, but it's not going to be, I hope, Lamar with 12 rushes a game. It can't be. But if the scheme allows for college open receivers, like, I'll take it. I'll take short intermediate receivers. I think if the Ravens win the time of possession battle 40 minutes to 20 minutes every week, like, that's what their offense is going to try to look like. It keeps the defense rested. They're going to be a ball control offense this year. And once Hollywood gets entrenched in the offense...
Who?
Hollywood.
The wrong team.
No, not Higgs. Hollywood.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Once he gets acclimated into the offense, I really think that they'll take some more shots. Chris Moore is another guy that I think can be a shot-taking type of guy. Last year, obviously, they took a bunch of shots with Mark Andrews. But enough about potential stuff. I thought Lamar was good enough. So in basically a half of work this preseason, he's 10 of 16 for 143 yards and a touchdown. That's a passer rating of 112. He's led 5 drives and scored on 4 of them. So 3 were field goals, 1 was a touchdown. Should be 2 field goals, touchdowns. So yeah, I think he's been good enough. I also wanted to note that last year, Lamar Jackson's rookie year, he had a higher yards per attempt and a better passer rating than the following quarterbacks' rookie years: Andrew Luck, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Derek Carr, Nick Foles, Andy Dalton. Not a crazy list of quarterbacks, but most of these guys are average-ish or above. Andrew Luck being on that list. So, and none of those guys can do what Lamar can with his leg. So I'm optimistic, and it might be foolish optimism for right now. Still up. We'll touch on Hayden Hurst. He's on my shit list this week. He's a fucking practice field hero and hasn't done anything. Like, you're a first round draft pick, bro. It's time to put up or shut up. This team wakes up in the morning and pisses out quality tight ends, and if you can't hack it, then fucking get to the back of the line, because Mark Andrews is there. All right, Nick Boyle is there. Like, we're ready to just rock without you.
Nick Boyle had some highlights.
He did. Well, yeah, and lowlights. But all aside, before you get into that, I will say that Nick Boyle, I think, did have, like, I mean, he made some good catches, made some good plays, aside from what we'll get into in a second. But yeah, Hayden Hurst, I was, like, it was the first I'd seen of him really playing, and I was underwhelmed. Yeah, like I said, at least 2 of those catches were to him that he should have been able to make a play on, and he should have
caught the deep ball.
Right.
He should have caught the deep ball down the sideline in the beginning. Yeah. He had the corner beat, and to track the ball, he slowed down too much, in my opinion, because the ball ended up being overthrown to him because he slowed down and allowed the defensive back into the play.
Right.
And allowed the defensive back to get body position on him.
Right.
So
it's the yips, man.
Garbage. He's garbage. It was his problem in baseball.
The yips.
And he's 26. Like,
yeah. Well, that makes you wonder. I mean, should they have kept Double X? Should they have kept Max Williams?
Oh, I mean, they have a rich tight end position group. Right. I think Andrews and Boyle are
good enough,
as good as any 1-2 punch. Maybe Philly has a better one with Ertz, obviously, who's a stud, and Dallas Goedert. But
would you say 1-2 punch or 1-2 kick? Because I'm still wondering, do you think he jumped 4 seconds early or 5 seconds early on that hurdle attempt?
He tried to pull
similar to the celebrated kick to the face that Antonio Brown did on a punter who doesn't even tackle people normally.
But for the record, he really landed that kick. He didn't even get a really good kick.
Oh, he landed that knee to the face. That was some MMA shit right there.
It was pathetic, and he knew it was pathetic because he had a holding call on the next play. He was so rattled by how embarrassed he was.
Yeah, I was thrown off by that. Like, why the fuck did he, like... And then I actually watched the play over a couple of times. Like, was there like some sort of sign of like, well, maybe the defender was kind of looking like he was gonna duck low? None of that. Like, he just like tried to
just saying,
completely
when Antonio Brown does it at 75 pounds lighter than Nick Boyle, everybody thinks it's spectacular to kick a punter in the face. But when Nick Boyle misjudges an actual defender, everybody gets all in a hizzy.
Well, to call the Packers defenders is kind of a stretch.
Ryu from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Flying.
Sure you can.
Anyways.
All right, yeah, let's roll into some Bengals talk.
Whoa.
What's up?
Whoa.
You're
not going to let Joey talk about how Justice Hill finally broke a tackle or anything?
Sorry.
I mean, goal line carries for a small, electric, elusive running back looked awesome. He made a cut on the goal line, totally lost momentum, and then still bullied his way into the end zone like Benny Snell wishes he could be right now.
It's true.
Justice Hill looked great. It was kind of a coming out party for Justice Hill. I even think that Justice Hill has the momentum right now, and with the way that Patrick Ricard has been playing, which I was hoping to wait to use him to segue from offense to defense because he does both. I don't know if you heard. I think Kenneth Dixon might be the odd man out in this running back group. And other than Ingram, I think he's probably the most talented guy. But Gus Edwards seems to have the inside track on the backup, the number 2 running back, the third down back, whatever you want to call it. And Justice Hill seems like too good to miss. You're not going to be able to hide that guy on a practice squad. You have to keep Justice Hill.
Nah, he looks good. He looked a lot better.
He's too good of a modern running back to let him go. And that sucks for Kenneth Dixon. He's a guy that's been plagued by injuries in his career. And I think he had a lot of promise, but just not with the Ravens anymore, I don't think. Before we get more into Mr. Patrick Ricard, I do want to talk about the offensive line position. Jermaine Illuminor looked awesome. I saw, I think, one missed block. He was pulling all over the place. He completed every pull that I saw. He didn't have any penalties. He didn't allow any sacks or any real pressure. He's the only offensive lineman that I watched. But he started at left guard, and that is a position of interest for me. You guys know my general dislike for watching offensive line play. As important as it is, it's kind of boring. And I think it takes a special focus that I just don't have. But he dominated in my...
Let me just check you a little bit, because you're in fan mode right now, and you're kind of imagining him holding the Super Bowl trophy and stuff. I thought he looked great. I noticed a couple of the pulls. I was impressed with the athleticism. I think you're going to want to get a little bit more in the conditioning, because Lamar spends a lot of time bouncing all around. And I noticed in the third quarter him doing a little bit of standing around when plays broke. He definitely either got fatigued or lazy, and I'm going to give him credit character-wise and go with fatigued. You're going to want to see him be able to work all the way through those extended plays, and I thought that on the passing plays he got a little bit sleepy in the third quarter before he went out of the game.
The standing around was a big knock on him after the first game. And over his career, really, I think you wouldn't call him for his career necessarily a willing blocker. What you want out of your offensive lineman is if nobody's there, obviously you're maintaining like lane discipline and all that shit, but find somebody to block, go to the next level and put a hat on somebody, whatever it is. And that's been his knock in the past, but I think he performed very well. But yeah, Lamar's going to be back there doing all kinds of crazy shit, which makes it even harder for all of the offensive linemen. Anytime you have a guy that likes to, I think the positive way to spin it, an improviser back there, it makes it very difficult to maintain some kind of protection for him. You see it in Seattle a lot too, another team that doesn't have a great offensive line ever, which comes to a chicken egg debate. What happens first? But Ben Powers had a holding penalty on him, but other than that, I think he looked good too. And after Lamar's run, I envisioned after Lamar's night and Justice Hill's night, I envisioned a world where Lamar Jackson and Justice Hill and Hollywood Brown are on the field at the same time. And it made me feel things. It made me feel things.
Wait, so Marquise Brown is going to take the field sometime this year? He's supposed to show up, or?
Yeah, he is.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They call him Hollywood.
Oh, okay. I don't know, because last I checked from John Harbaugh, Marquise Brown, they said that he still has a lot of work or something with his injury. I don't know. Whatever. But just me.
Well, yeah, he's actually been participating in practice now, which is more than we can say about a receiver who's widely considered the greatest of his generation, who also has a foot injury and hasn't had any practice this year. Yeah. So, if we're if Marquise Brown is anything like his cousin Antonio, then he's going to have a fantastic career.
Well, not because he's practicing, though, right?
Neither's Antonio Brown.
Right.
We're talking about practice. You don't have to practice speed.
Right.
He's fast. Anyway, let's talk about Mr. Patrick Ricard, the most interesting man in football. Got some carries at fullback, had some big conversions. Something that was kind of a staple of the Ravens offense in recent years was the Joe Flacco quarterback sneak. Lamar Jackson plays a lot out of shotgun, and so that doesn't really give you the option for a quarterback sneak. And I think the replacement for the quarterback sneak is Patrick Ricard being an absolute fucking hammer on offense. He's a defensive tackle that's going to line up at fullback and just pound the line. He's awesome. He lines up so close to the line on those fullback dives. I think closer than you generally see. And he's awesome. Chad, do you want to fawn over Patrick Ricard for a little bit?
I do. He was
Isn't he
going.
great?
I'm just leaving in my Patrick Ricard notes, which I will probably have for every game. But he's still going medieval. He's going medieval on everybody. I don't think I even noticed when he first came in the game, which is crazy because I'm like looking for him. But he just had this great, I think it was in the first quarter. He came in, had a beautiful first down carry on one of those fullback dives. And then on first down, he had such a beautiful lead block. He pancaked a linebacker, and then he pancaked another linebacker. He pancaked two linebackers in the same lead block. I was like, this guy is he's magic. And then on the next drive, he had a fumble recovery. Now, I know I like watching him, but I'm not going to go crazy here. He's on a rival team. He's not that good of a D tackle. He really isn't. He's good if someone gets hurt or you're winning by 30. He's kind of like Matakevich in that he's eating snaps when they need to be eaten. But as a fullback, man, he's a full grown man. And I like him. I like watching him. I like watching him maul people, and it'll be really fun to see if if Bush can get off those blocks that he throws this year. It's gonna be a war.
That'll be a fun little rivalry. Yeah, he's definitely he makes his money as a fullback. I don't know how many snaps he's played at defensive tackle last year. He played some. But yeah, I mean he's nowhere near a replacement level, even defensive tackle. But I think that versatility, that's something that football teams love to see.
For sure.
And running back and that interior defensive line position are two pretty interesting position battles. I already talked about Kenneth Dixon. We can shift over to the D-line now. So Gerald Willis and Dalen Mack are both rookies. Gerald Willis is an undrafted free agent. Dalen Mack was a draft pick. They also have Jalen Ferguson, whose nickname is Sack Daddy. He's been playing a little bit on the outside too. The big knock on him is that in college he was good enough to just rely on his bull rush, and he doesn't really have any finesse moves to speak of. And when you get to the NFL and you play against grown-ass men, you need a little bit more than just to be a strong bull rusher. Even Aaron Donald needs a little bit more than just a strong bull rush, or Geno Atkins. So he's got some work to do. I'm thinking that Willis is going to be the odd man out. He's an undrafted free agent. I mean, as much as the Ravens love having an undrafted free agent on their roster, I think they've had one on their team for like a dozen years in a row, legit consecutive years with an undrafted free agent rookie to make the 53-man roster. I don't think that Gerald Willis is the guy. The other big news on the Ravens defensive side of the ball is we didn't see Tavon Young on Thursday. And then it came out After the game, John Harbaugh referred to a neck injury that he has, which is a disc injury, and they are afraid that it's going to end Tavon Young's season. So that's a big hit to the Ravens. He's one of the better slot corners in the league. And now the Ravens have a couple weeks to figure out who the guy is. Cyrus Jones took a lot of snaps there on Thursday and didn't play particularly well. Kind of got exposed, I think, after a flashy preseason week 1 where he had the pick 6. You can't rely on pick 6s every week. And so I don't know what the answer is. Chad talked a little bit about the depth last week with Anthony Averett and some of these guys. Maurice Kennedy is a veteran guy that they've had around a while. He knows the system. Brandon Carr could slide in there potentially. But the Ravens have this really weird... So a lot of NFL teams have a plethora of nickel corner type of guys, and they struggle to find outside corner talent. The Ravens have the opposite problem, I think. Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey are both really long guys. Kennedy is a long guy that can play on the outside. Brandon Carr, obviously, with his little start streak, he's typically an outside cornerback. Stanley Jean-Baptiste is like 6'3" and a length guy. So the Ravens, they may even be looking elsewhere. I think maybe bringing in a guy, and if it means packaging a draft pick, which the Ravens have typically stockpiled draft picks, or it'll be interesting to see what happens with this slot corner position, because I really do think the Ravens are in kind of scramble mode right now. They've got a lot of guys, but they lost their slot specialist, which is what Tavon Young was. He got starting cornerback money to be a slot corner. So it sucks, man. And he's been plagued with some injuries over the last couple of years. Hopefully this is something that he can come back and play eventually. Disc issues in the neck doesn't sound.
Yeah, it's a big time bummer, man.
So yeah, that's a huge bummer. Yeah. And then other than that, not much to report on the outside linebacker battle other than Pernell McPhee left Baltimore like 3 years ago and came back and still looks great. I think he's probably earned his way back into the rotation, and I like him a lot. And it might be nostalgia a little bit because he was fantastic 3 years ago. But yeah, he's been good. Bowser, Tim Williams, Shane Ray, like all these guys, specifically Bowser and Williams, those are homegrown guys, and this is year 3 for them. It's kind of put up or shut up time, and they haven't really put up much. Williams, more than Bowser, has performed some. Shane Ray's been a ghost, which stinks. Former first-round draft pick. But yeah, other than that, I won't go on too much longer. The Ravens have 3 undrafted free agents on their roster. Gerald Willis, we already talked about. Pat McCarry is an offensive lineman who has an outside shot of making the team, given their woes on the O-line. And Antoine Wesley is a wide receiver that's made some plays on Thursday, but unless he can prove valuable on special teams or something like that, probably won't make the team. So I might break the streak this year for undrafted free agents. Anybody else have any defensive notes on my Baltimore Ravens?
Surprising, but not really. Normally the Ravens, you're going to get some good stuff, but basically I noticed Cyrus Jones wasn't very good.
Yeah. Slot corner became a problem really, really fast, and it sucks because pretty much every team in the league runs 3 receivers most of the time.
Yeah, you're going to have to figure that out. Well, let's talk about the Bengals. They don't have any injury problems.
Hey, they suck more than the Ravens do, so that's awesome. So I started off watching the offensive line with good intentions, and then I stopped.
Right.
But Trey Hopkins started at center, not Billy Price. He did well. I don't know. Him and Billy Price are interchangeable to me. I don't know. Maybe one of them can be a guard.
That's actually what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Billy Price would likely play left guard.
Oh, there you go. Ryan Finley. So Andy Dalton threw a pick 6. It was tipped at the line.
Yeah.
This game was atrocious to watch.
It was not good.
Holy shit. Justin was tasked with watching it live.
Yeah.
Because it was his local game. My God. And flags everywhere.
I know, man. The first portion of the game was just like Flag City, particularly from the offensive line of the Bengals. So one of the big notes I had on the offensive line was just like so much fucking holding, and false starts as well. It really, really hurt the Bengals. I guess if you would include the tight end group as a part of the offensive line, it was just, it was bad. Just crazy amounts of penalties. Get your shit together. That's all I got to say.
And then after Dalton came out, Ryan Finley came in, and I thought Ryan Finley played pretty well.
Yeah.
I think he probably put the knife in Jeff Driscoll, twisted a little bit. He showed some rapport with Drew Sample.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little connection going. He likes his tight ends for sure, Ryan Finley, but tight ends tend to be a rookie quarterback's best friend. So I think that's fair enough. Cody Core had a pretty good game. Auden Tate scored a touchdown for the second week in a row, so looks to be developing at least, especially if AJ's going to miss some time. They're going to need, it's looking, I think, like Core is going to be the second guy, probably. It'll be Boyd and Cody Core, which we don't know much about those guys.
Well, from last year, we were talking a whole lot of shit on Cody
Right.
Core and Auden Tate, and John Ross. Jeez.
Yeah, historically, the Bengals find wide receiver talent, though. They've always had a pretty decent stable going back to Chris Henry and Ocho Cinco, and TJ Hushmanzada was a veteran pickup, but they still kind of gave his career some second life. And so, I mean, they've been through some guys, Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones. Yeah. So, I mean, if one of those guys can emerge as an unexpected, capable wide receiver, that's a nice little gift for the Bengals. Mixon didn't play much. He did stiff arm somebody into another universe.
It was Josh Norman
for the Redskins. What's it?
Was it? Jeez.
Oh, thoughts and prayers to Josh Norman and his family. My God. But then after Mixon came out, Jordan Ellis got a very hefty workload. He wears number 31. He went to the University of Virginia, which will be a little bit of a theme. A little known fact, Chad and I met in the great state of Virginia in a beer league, football league, and in the great city of Richmond. So Jordan Ellis from UVA had a monster workload, and I think he played well. Obviously, Mixon is the guy there, but he looked capable.
I like him.
What a compliment.
Well, I thought he looked good on the blitz pickup. I thought he ran tough. And then I listened to the Bengals hype train, which is obviously moving very slowly. And these guys are all saying that he's practice squad material. I'm like, man, he looks like a good player. And if he's a good player, keep him.
Oh, man.
So, I don't know.
What are you going to do?
I thought Mixon looked great, though. Now, I don't know if he got enough carries or stats for Justin, because apparently that's something we're concerned about right now. But
I will say
we need 5.5 yards a carry.
Right.
All right.
I mean, I'll take you all the way to the end zone. From what I saw from Mixon, I thought he looked pretty good. That's actually like the first line that I wrote down was Mixon looked good. So,
Damon Willis is kind of emerging as a wide receiver on the team too. He wears number 9, which is fun for a wide receiver. Single digit wide receiver numbers. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. He made a really sweet diving catch on a garbage offensive pass interference penalty in the second half. Apparently the book on him is he's got fantastic ball skills. He just needs to kind of polish as a receiver. Maybe he can get some mentorship from AJ Green if he makes this football team. Josh Malone, who I think has been slotted as like a number 3 wide receiver on the team with AJ out. Had some drops, didn't look great. Kind of took a step backwards.
He looks like a number get cut right now.
Oh, like a number poop receiver. Am I right? Rookie kicker Vizcaino hit a 57-yard field goal, so that's exciting. I consider myself a field goal connoisseur. I've been lucky enough to watch Matt Stover and then Justin Tucker. Been pretty spoiled in the kicking game as a Ravens fan, and Chad knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, great.
Noticeably absent John Ross, apparently still not ready to play.
You don't say.
Yeah. Erickson had a nice little punt return. He's a weapon.
Yeah.
Going to take up a wide receiver slot on the roster, so that makes even less room for all these guys that are like wide receiver 4s. They got like 5 wide receiver 4s pretty much.
Yeah.
Blindside block calls. So they had an offensive lineman called on a fucking blindside block. And I wrote down that blindside block calls are turning blocking into drawing charges.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want these guys to do? Like, get around a guy and get in position? Like, a lot of these blocks are from the side. Like, I don't know, man. Like, they're not traditional blindside blocks in the sense of, like, watching Jacked Up on ESPN and, like, seeing guys get, like, absolutely obliterated. Like, pretty much if you don't get blocked straight from the front and you leave your feet when you get blocked, like, you're going to get a flag thrown on the block. Like, if the guy getting blocked falls.
I think this is evidence that Antonio Brown is right, that these new helmets, you can't see out the side of them. And so they had to change the rules because people can't see well. I mean, this is clear-cut stuff, guys. You can draw a straight line from A to B on this one.
Also, for the record, shitty game for James Conner, 4.7 yards a carry. Awesome game from Joe Mixon, 3 yards a carry. Throw that in there.
Well, at least, yeah.
History will tell.
Pretty much all. That's all I had for the offense. I don't have much to report in the way of like training camp battles. The O-line stinks. The receiving corps stinks. Drew Sample, he could be pretty good. Him and Eifert and Uzama, pretty deep tight ends room potentially. And Joe Mixon is awesome. But without AJ out there, looks bleak for this offense.
Dude, the Bengals had an offensive lineman potentially retire this week.
I saw that too.
In the middle of it, they're benching their first-round pick. Like, it's crazy. This is, like, worse than it was last week. And last week, it was really bad. So, there's, like, a lot of cause for concern there. A lot.
And we haven't even talked about defense.
Defense. Great notes on defense. Let's hear it, Joey. What do you got?
So the backup safeties played. Wilson and Henderson. Yeah, those guys fucking suck. Dwayne Haskins was just like chucking it over their heads constantly to like free runners. It was wild. Jermaine Pratt, he's fun. NC State guy. I like him. I've got him on my my Madden franchise team that I drafted. So
I know.
woo.
This was one of my guys to watch because he was a pretty high pick. The Bengals slow-moving hype train, they're all about him. They loved his activity. We love his activity. Dude, all I notice is that it took him almost 2 quarters to get a tackle. He almost had a sack, but he couldn't turn. So he ran right by the quarterback. You know what happened? A touchdown happened. A touchdown. Because he missed. Because he couldn't plant and turn. He ran right frickin' by him. And then he's terrible in coverage. Did you like in coverage? I was watching him, and receivers would give one move, or tight ends, and go right by him, and then he's grabbing him, he's holding. It's not always getting called, but he's getting beat. Like, he's getting beat all the time. I thought it was a bad game. I honestly did. I did not, and I want him to be good. Like, I don't want him to be good. I just don't. He just wasn't good. He just wasn't good. He wasn't good at anything.
That's a good segue, Chad. You know who was good? This will continue my trend. Number 72, Kerry Wynn from University of Richmond.
All right.
He had a tackle for a loss, a sack. He had a hustle fumble recovery where he was behind the play. He came up and made a fumble recovery. He's like a 5-year vet. They got him from the Giants. The Giants are just fucking dumping everybody off in the AFC North. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Olivier Vernon and all kinds of guys. Odell. So he and rookie Rennell Wren both look pretty good to me on the interior of that defensive line. Obviously, they get to watch Geno in practice every day, so that probably doesn't hurt for Rennell Wren's development. Kerry Wynn is probably already pretty much an established guy. But they were some bright spots on the defense, I thought.
I liked Andrew Brown, too, and he was also playing on the interior defense line. I believe he started. But we talked about him a little last week and that he had played a lot of defensive end and it didn't really take. But I thought he was pushing that pocket even in double teams. He looked really strong and he like a guy that could collapse the pocket for him, especially as a backup. Like he's been playing behind Geno and Sam Hubbard and Carl Lawson, so he's gonna have fresh legs when they need him.
Yeah, Hubbard played a fair bit too, and I thought he looked pretty good. So that probably is strength of their team. Once they get Lawson and Dunlap and Geno Atkins, Hubbard, a couple of these guys between Brown and Wynn and Wren, if he sees the field, they seem to have a pretty solid rotation on the defensive line. Drake Kirkpatrick didn't play. Their defensive backs pretty sorry unit. Tony McRae is there. He was on the Ravens a couple years ago. He was covering the slot a lot. He's not super. I don't know. They got a bunch of guys that just aren't super. Vontae Harris, Darius Phillips, Tony Lippett.
Well, they just didn't play any of them. They've got they didn't play. The starters are good.
Bates, right. Bates didn't play. Kirkpatrick didn't play.
William Jackson.
Sean Williams played a little bit.
William Jackson III.
Sean Williams played a little bit. The one fucking guy that played came down and got abused by Vernon Davis a couple times. Hate to see that. But
there's one more thing we need to talk about, though, for sure.
Go for it.
I don't think anyone here knows what a catch is. Does anyone here know what pass interference is? Did you guys see that offensive pass interference that I
Yes. Is it possible to have offensive and defensive pass interference on the same two guys catching?
It's crazy, and I didn't bring it up in the Steelers game, but there was a bad one in the Steelers game too against Deontay Johnson for some hand fighting where there was like no push off at all. But like, look, stuff gets missed. There was hand fighting, whatever. I'm over it. This was criminal. It was criminal. It was against the Washington receiver, I think Haran or something.
And it was on a challenge.
Yeah, they challenged it and it was upheld. Holy crap. Now, I think all we can hope for is that this is like preseason stuff and they're getting it out of their systems, right? It's like,
sure.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with like all the helmet. That was like the big thing in the preseason last year was like the lowering the head stuff
and
there was flags everywhere.
Unnecessary roughness on the quarterbacks too. Except they did not ease off on that.
No, they didn't. Clay Matthews will tell you all about that.
Yeah. Unless you're Cam Newton, it's fair.
Right. Yeah.
Fair game on Cam Newton
or Tom.
He's so big.
Tom Brady, it's all unnecessary roughness. You touched his hand.
I just couldn't believe that. I thought it was a play of the game, honestly, because every single team is going to be watching that.
Yeah.
Like, and they're going to be like coaches' meetings. Like, what are we going to do?
All it's going to do is encourage these clowns like Mike Tomlin, who already has a hard enough time challenging plays, to figure out when to challenge pass interference calls too.
He did. He challenged the one in the Steelers game and lost. I think he lost that one on reputation.
They were like, come on. No.
They were like, I'm kind of tired. The screen's bright. I've got a headache. He must be wrong.
It's like when they have Mike Carey in the booth doing like being like an analyst for the referees, and every time they review a play, whatever he says, it gets overturned.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't believe it. But that's
all I have for the lowly Bungles. Houday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Everybody day.
Yeah. I was about to say that slogan is so like self-inflicted. Like you need to turn that around back on yourself. I don't know, man.
Like who they think gonna beat them Bengals?
Yeah.
We day, like the Bengals are gonna beat themselves.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, for the record though, I'll shitlist the Bengals. How about CJ Uzama? He's supposed to be part of this deep tight end pool.
I wrote that down.
And what did he do? He got like 3 penalties and was trash.
Yeah, that's what I was.
He's supposed to be setting an example.
That's what I was referring to earlier with possibly the tight ends being maybe a part of the O-line, I guess. But yeah, like that Uzama dropped some passes, got some flags called against him, and it was just like, yeah, I don't know, man. Dismal is the appropriate word in my dictionary, but we'll see. Maybe they'll do better than the predicted 4-12 from last year, right? But whatever. So
not until AJ comes back.
Yeah, especially without AJ, they're going to be struggling even more. So,
well, do we have time to do any segments this week? What are we talking?
Man, we're running super late. We're running up on almost 2 hours. Let's
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. 1 hour and 44 minutes is what we're at right now. Do you guys have any fill in the blanks?
I do, but I can save them.
Let's throw those out real quick, because those are cheap shots. So let's do some fill in the blanks real quick. Always remember too that if you listen to this podcast, come on Facebook, come on Twitter, come on Instagram, fill in the blank with what you think would have been the appropriate fill in the blank. We know that you're listening.
Come everywhere.
Just come at it all. Come everywhere with some fill in the blanks. But what you got, Chad? You got a fill in the blank?
Yep. This year, for every game the Browns record an interception, Arby's will give a free blank to any fan that mentions it the next day. This offer is only available in participating Northeast Ohio locations. Joey.
Is it? Wait, hold on. Is this a real headline? Like,
yeah, this is real stuff.
Oh man!
I promised you guys current events on these things.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna say a beef and.
I don't even know the names of their sandwiches.
So hold on. Let me take this up real quick.
Right.
I actually I worked. My first job ever was at Arby's, and let me fucking tell you, that job tainted Arby's for me for the rest of my life. The smell of Arby's roast beef because they steam their roast beef, the smell when it comes out of the steamer is just makes me want to gag right now. I mean, if you enjoy their sandwiches, whatever, but try to stand in front of the steamer when they open it and that roast beef, you'll never eat it again. That being
Beef
said,
steamer is like a good high school punk band name.
I know, right? I mean, the idea of roast beef in and of itself already brings such a negative connotation. So like,
Well, I guess
Why, Justin?
so
you guys aren't gonna go collect your free.
you'll learn when you get
random
older.
item yet.
So I'm gonna say a beef and cheddar.
I'm gonna say, because I don't know anything from Arby's, curly fries.
The curly fries are good.
Nailed it.
Ooh,
Small curly fry.
nice.
Small.
I will say
Well,
so.
Arby's is getting wild.
I will say though that Arby's, the mozz sticks, the poppers, the fries, the chicken sandwiches, all good. Roast beef, I just can't fucking do it, man. I worked there for 3 months and quit. Said
For the
fuck
record,
that.
Arby's, this will be your only free advertising that you'll ever get on the AFC.
That's right.
Yeah,
Free
they
ad.
do good enough advertising as it is if you ever watch their shit. But all right,
We've got the meats.
well, their social media is pretty on point. And if you're, anyways, all right, I gotta fill in the blank. So how about this? So I like doing the either or. That's kind of fun for me. So either or. So blank will play more games this year. Antonio Brown or Marquise Brown.
What do you mean play?
I mean, play more games. Will be active in more games this year. I mean, you got Antonio Brown with a foot injury. You got his cousin Marquise Brown with the foot injury.
Activated on the roster. Antonio Brown's going to get infinite more snaps.
No, I mean
than
active
Marquise
in
Brown is.
games. So obviously what we've seen so far is that Antonio Brown is holding out about this childish bullshit about his helmet. And he's got foot injuries that he's trying to limp through, that you're going to tell me that within the next 2 weeks it's all of a sudden going to be miraculously fine and everything's going to be good and it's not going to trouble him the rest of the season whatsoever. He's going to sit 0 games out the rest of the season. Because if that's the case, just say Antonio Brown and we'll move on.
Antonio Brown.
I don't particularly think either one of them will miss games.
I don't know.
I think Marquise Brown is going to be ready to go week 1, but he's not a wide receiver 1. He's not going to be a starting wide receiver. That's for certain.
In my opinion, I had heard from a little bird that Marquise Brown is a little injury prone, and he's already got injuries to his feet that he's working through, and John Harbaugh...
Injury
Sorry.
to his foot.
Excuse me. And John Harbaugh already said that he's got... I think his exact quote was, he's got a long ways to go. Is exactly what he said, and that was from, yesterday.
I don't think that was an injury. He's missed football activities.
Right.
He still has to get the playbook. He still has to build rapport in the offense. He still has to learn how to be a pro wide receiver. But he's still fast as fuck and can run a go route and can be a little gadget guy. They're going to find ways to use him once they're able to.
So is both of your guys' take that Antonio and Marquise will not miss any games throughout the season?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would take Antonio to miss none and Marquise to miss 1, or maybe if it takes him a while to come through the injury, maybe be a game day inactive week 1 and as he gets worked in. I don't expect either of them to miss substantial amounts of time.
Okay.
I see about the same. I don't think any of these injuries are going to be a nagging thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Antonio Brown's, as long as he doesn't keep going to fucking cryo chambers barefoot. That's not going to be a problem. And Marquise's is a fracture as long as it's healed properly. I mean, we saw Greg Olsen break his foot 2 years in a row.
Right.
So you kind of never know with feet.
Well,
all these guys run all the time.
Well, Greg Olsen broke his feet 2 years in a row, and then also didn't play a complete season 2 years in a row. So.
Right. That's why I said Antonio Brown.
Anyways.
What's yours, Joey?
Yeah, you got anything, Joey?
Yeah. Josh Gordon will have blank impact on the Patriots this year.
Oof, man. So if you haven't heard already, Josh Gordon has like another conditional reinstatement that's just like, what the literal fuck? At this point, like, I understand from last year saying, like, look, he's still got all this hype around him. So as much as it's, in my opinion, not forgivable, it's understandable that the NFL is like, let's profit off of this hype. But at this point, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a Browns fan, but it's just like, I don't know, man. Turn the page. It's done. It's over with. He's had a million chances. We're tired of hearing the same story every year. And I think most people don't really give a shit anymore about Josh Gordon. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe it's because I'm a tired old Browns fan. But so as far as an impact on the Patriots, I don't know, man. Depends on how many games it takes before he fails a drug test. You know? So.
Has he, like, even shown up or his, I mean, like.
Yeah, he was there today. He's on the non-football injury list, but he was participating in drills today, or excuse me, Monday in camp.
I mean, I guess he's gonna have an impact. I mean, he's better than the guys they've like. He's better.
I've got two.
I don't know.
I've got two fun notes.
I'm gonna say negligible because last year, even though he was on the team for as long as he was, which was what, like 4 games, he had like 2 big catches, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm fucked up, but I remember it was like 2 big catches, and then he got suspended again. And it was just like, whatever. So, you know, if he does not get suspended again, I mean, maybe, but I guess I've just lost the confidence in that happening. I don't know.
So I've got 2 notes for that. Last year, Josh Gordon had 40 catches for 720 yards and 3 touchdowns. He leads Patriots receivers all time in yards per catch from Tom Brady.
Of course. Of course.
40 catches is not negligible.
No,
though.
I know, you're right. I'm saying load. Of course, because I just said, like, I feel like he didn't really do a whole lot last year. And then of course it's just like leads the NFL all time in a short period of, span. It's just like,
well, that's why I looked up his stats from last year though. He had it was quiet, but he played like 11 games last year.
Right.
He had 3 or 4 catches a game average, like 60, 70 yards a game. Like, the touchdowns weren't there, but he was productive.
Right.
And this Patriots wide receiver room, they're quietly stashing guys that, like, teams were hopeful for a couple years ago. So they've got Edelman. They've got the rookie N'Keal Harry or whatever his name is. They've got Josh Gordon now. They've got Demaryius Thomas, was a free agent pickup. And they've got Cameron Meredith, who 2 years ago was on the Bears and was like a big, trendy, like, oh, look out for Cameron Meredith last year. And he had the unfortunate circumstance of catching balls from Mitchell Trubisky, which is a disaster.
I'll give you my take on that. Here's my take. Here it comes, spicy. I don't think Demaryius Thomas and Josh Gordon make this team. They're competing against each other. One of them gets cut.
I could see that. The Patriots tend to be very blasé with, like, veteran free agent wide receivers. They're just whatever.
Yeah.
Guys come and go.
They don't need them both. They're keeping the rookie.
I'm already
Reggie Wayne, Ocho Cinco, like,
Right.
Guys just come and go.
I'm already just like in such disbelief that he's getting like another shot at a roster after he's had like a last chance the last 3 fucking times. And so I think like we had like a little bit of a text thing going on earlier in the week, but like to me it's just like I'm just so tired of hearing about him that like I don't even care anymore. I'm like just worn out on Josh Gordon. Almost like, you know, every now and then when I hear something about Johnny Manziel, you know, doing this or that, which by the way, if you're wondering what he's doing recently, it's car insurance commercials where he admits that he knows what failure is like. But anyways, I'm just so tired of hearing about it. Like, I just don't even care. Like, let's, like, in my opinion, move on. I don't know why the NFL is giving him another fucking chance. Just move on. I don't know.
You've got a deep reservoir of bitterness, Justin.
Maybe
I think I need to bring a Josh Gordon fill in the blank every week.
Agreed.
Maybe. I don't
Agreed.
know. Fuck, man.
It'll be my brand.
I'm just so worn out on it, you know? Just, God, give it up. Whatever, man. Flash. Yeah, whatever. Odell Beckham, guys. Let me tell you about that guy.
He practices about as much as Marquise Brown.
Yeah, but he also practices probably about as much as Joe Thomas, who was one of the best left tackles of all time. So, you know, when you get to a certain veteran status, like, practice isn't as important, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, you know what? Odell Beckham Jr. has as many NFL playoff wins as Marquise Brown, too.
And Joe Thomas.
And Joe Thomas combined. Right? Yeah. Oh, man. We're running super late. That's all right.
It's
Yeah,
good
we
that
can
stayed
call
for
this
that,
one.
though.
Yeah.
That was a good way to end on. Your team sucks.
You're the team. Your team is the team that everybody memes about like 6 years later, where they're just like, "Yo, but this one time we won a bunch of Super Bowls." Like, look, man, like either fucking prove it or don't. Stop hanging on to the past. All right, either you are. Or you aren't.
Chad, prove it. Go 7-8-1.
That's very unlikely because Mike Tomlin has never had a lose.
Ooh, that's a good little stat.
Good point. All right, guys, I'm tired. It's fucking 11:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right.
I like these chats.
They're good.
Lead us out.
Yeah, so anyways, catch us up on Facebook, catch us up on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Basically, if there is a way for you to interact with a human being on the internet, we're probably on it trying to interact with you. So interact with us. Get in touch. Let us know your comments. Let us know how you feel. Fill in some blanks for us and give us some fucking hot takes and opinions. Join our Pigskin Pick'em. We'll have a bunch of links to join that sooner than later. So
I'll be blasting that out this week.
blast that shit out. We'll join the Pigskin Pick'ems. It was fun last year. It'll be good this year, and it's a chance for you to listen or to be on the podcast and have like 30 people listen to you, which is basically a close family and friends. But anyways, yeah, man, join in, have fun. Pigskin Pick'em. The regular season is coming sooner than later, so hang in with us. You guys got anything?
If we don't tell you
there,
who
guys.
Hollywood is next week, we retire.
No, man, it's like that bait and switch, right? Where it's like every week it's just like, who is Hollywood, right? And like it goes into week 16, right?
Yeah.
We'll tell you.
We'll just put it on the title of the live video every week until the Super Bowl.
Right. Where you get to
and
see
never talk about it.
Hollywood Higgins in the Super Bowl against, I don't know.
Who?
We still got to talk about our mistresses too, man. That'll be fun. I think that'll be a good time. But
Oh, yeah.
Don't explain that at all.
No.
Now we'll go.
yeah, exactly. Right.
That's okay. Brenna doesn't listen to this, let
No,
alone
you-
2 hours of it.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. If you're on SoundCloud or podcast, wherever it was, thanks for listening to us. Give it a shot if you have an opportunity to join us live on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube. I think there's a great opportunity to have interactions live and join the conversation. So, but in the meantime, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Take it easy.